time and money. So the two borders we are seeing on the screen now is that time is synonymous with money, and time has the characteristics of not waiting for no one. Awesome. Thanks for the responses. I think what we can get from this, just from looking at the screen, is that as human beings, we are given equal opportunities when it comes to time. All of us have 24 hours a day. And sometimes we say things like, I don't have time, or, the time I have is not enough to do all that I want to do, which says something about time and how we humans relate with time. It's also, something that we usually worry about in terms of when we look at the enormity of the things we need to accomplish or the things we need to do, either in the present or in the future. We also get anxious about time. We also get agitated about time. Most times you can see time is coming up in the sentences I'm even saying. So it's very important for us to understand that time is an equal resource given to all of us, and we must, one way or the other, learn how to manage it. If we must take advantage of time for our own productivity. And I'm sure all of us, we found ourselves in situations where we felt we didn't use our time well at some point, or we've also experienced situations where we feel good that we maximize our time. Personally, I feel good when I use my time well, especially when I'm able to accomplish a lot of things in the shortest time possible. So it's very important for us to learn about how to manage our time as professionals, but also in our personal lives. So I'm going to tell us a story, and all of us are going to engage with this story. And the story is the story of Tosin. Tosin is a CC Oba. Tosin works as a project manager for CC Ob. And Tosin oversees a number of projects for the organization. So at the beginning of this week, on Monday, Tosin had a clear set of tasks he wanted to accomplish this week. And one of those, number one, Tosin really wanted to finalize the project scope for a new client project that is coming to us as an organization. He also prepared to work on a quarterly report on project progress for senior management. That was the second thing he planned to do this week. The third thing Tosin planned to do this week is to conduct performance reviews for his team of 5 field assistants. So Tosin has 5 field assistants collecting data for him and implementing some of the projects he's working on in different locations in Nigeria. So it was time, this week was supposed to be the time to do the performance reviews for them. And the fourth thing Tosin wanted to do this week is to oversee the critical deployment phase of a major software developed on one of the projects under his portfolio. So Tosin was set out to do these 4 things this week. So let us look at how Tosin spent his time this week when we look at some of the things he was set out to accomplish. So on Monday, Tosin planned to start the day by finalizing the project scope, but also to work on the plan he was set out to do. But he got distracted by a series of unexpected meetings and urgent emails from another client. And we know how urgent emails work at CC Hub. So I'll speak with CC Hub. Sometimes you've planned to do some things, but there seems to be a number of things that cannot wait, either from clients or from your manager or from your team or from a collaborative conversation you're already having with a new client. And it seems everything comes urgent. And there are some emails that come to you and it starts with urgent. Then the title of the email will come after urgent, and the urgent is written in capital letters. So Tosin got distracted with some of these types of emails. And eventually, Tosin spent the afternoon on Monday responding to emails and putting out fires. Everybody needed his attention, and all the emails that came in seemed very urgent, with no progress on the project scope. So for Monday, he was supposed to work on the project scope, but he could not, because it was a lot of things that are seemingly urgent came, and he was putting out the fires, and he prioritized replying to those urgent emails eventually. So on Tuesday, he decided to focus on the quarterly report. But the data I would use to work on this report was scattered across various emails and files. So a lot of people have sent in emails with files, with attachments, a lot of documents, and it needs to comb through all these emails to be able to put this quarterly report together. So he spent most of the day on Tuesday gathering and organizing the information. So just combing through hundreds of emails to be able to put the information and the data I would use for the report together. And then also on Tuesday, he received a lot of calls throughout the day that disrupted his focus, leading to only, he was only able to do partial, work on the report by the end of the day on Tuesday. I want us to be taking note of how Tosin has spent his week. Then on Wednesday, he scheduled the performance reviews on Wednesday for his field officers. But each of the sessions, ran longer than planned due to unaddressed team issues coming to light. So during the check-in session for performance review, he spent more time. He probably budgeted or planned to have 30 minutes per person, but he eventually spent more than an hour for each person because there were unaddressed issues, and those things were coming up during the performance review session, right? So he attempted to return to the quarterly report, but struggled to find a quiet moment on Wednesday. So we can see how Tosin has spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He has done so much, but it seems he has not done, what he was set out to do. Then on Thursday, he spent the entire day consumed by the software development task, which encountered several glitches needing immediate attention from the design lab. So he had planned that the software deployment would go as planned, but obviously there were glitches and he needed the design lab. So he spent the whole day on Thursday doing a lot of back and forth between Kome and Kelly. And this urgent task took precedence over all others. So on Thursday, he could not do any other thing. I guess he had planned to spend just 2 hours for the deployment, but he eventually spent the whole day, 8 hours, just working on that. And also, he became very stressed, just doing a lot of back and forth with the design lab to be able to get his work done. And then on Friday, he was very exhausted from the previous day. And then he tried to finalize the project scope. But because he was already feeling defeated, he found himself constantly distracting himself with social media and unable to concentrate. When you get to that level of mental tiredness, you just want something to entertain you and to keep the stress off you. So on Friday, he found himself scrolling through Instagram and TikTok, and you know how the algorithms of this platform works. It hooks you from one to another, And then he ended the week feeling frustrated, having fully completed only the project scope document, and even that was submitted later than initially planned. So this was how Tosin's week went from Monday to Friday. And I hope you can, see how interesting that week went for Tosin. So I want us to do 3 things. Number one is, can we relate with Tosin as a CC Oba that you are? Can you relate to how Tosin's plan and how eventually spent his week? Then could he have managed his time better? And then were the circumstances out of his control? I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see yours and also for us to look at these 3 things. Number one, I want people who can tell us if they can relate with Tosin and share their personal experiences with this story that I've just told you. And number 2, do we think he could have managed his time better this week with all the things he was set out to do and the distractions that came? And then number 3, were the circumstances out of his control? So I'm going to go back here. I'll stop sharing my screen and then we can speak. Please raise up your hand and tell us if you can relate with Tosin. And then actually, if you are Tosin, please, you can go. Tobiloba.
No,
Awesome,
I'm just
awesome.
Tosin.
So who is Tosin? Who wants to tell us, you know, okay, Tosin is in comms. Ayomiko, do you want to tell us, discuss those three things as it relates to Tosin? Since Tosin is in comms, you should be able to speak about Tosin.
Um, so I think the one thing I can relate to Tosin urgent. I mean, especially when on our own end, the bulk of sometimes we like to see ourselves like we provide services like to other things, and so everybody comes with it. And it's almost like for a split second, it feels like at that moment that is the only brief that we're attending to. And so it's like everybody comes urgent. So I relate to Tosin in that regard. And also the bit where sometimes if you're not um, very conscious of putting effort to what you're doing, you realize that you'll be like Tosin, and even not just on Monday or Tuesday, you're just putting out fires or running around to create something that just came in 24 hours before, and then you realize that somehow you've lost maybe 24, 48 hours on something you've already given a deadline to the week before. So it can be very, I think I relate to Tosin, and almost everybody in com is actually relates to Tosin.
Okay, thanks, Ayomiko. So I guess everybody in comms, we can call them Tosin. So put Tosin in the middle name of everybody in comms now. And I can see the chat, almost everybody from comms, they agreed with Ayomiko that they are Tosin. And this is giving us some insight into how we manage our time as professionals within CCO. And that way help us see how we can better manage our time. I can see Freda. Freda says Tosin is in startup support. Freda, do you want to speak for startup support? Can you relate with Tosin as a member of the startup support? Is this how your week evolves as well as a member of startup support? Freda.
Hi everyone. So me, I'm just here to catch cruise, but I'm loving the conversation as well. Yes, most times we most times we get a lot of requests. So some of the projects that we work on, I'll speak for myself and maybe some of my colleagues because we have projects that includes different stakeholders across multiple teams, so and most times you want to reach out to one team member and they're busy and you need them on to deliver on a particular task or responsibility, and you need to find a solution to that immediately. So there's that hands-on bit where you have to deliver, and also it's also depending on another person's time. So there's that part, there's that component that you're sometimes distracted or even maybe overwhelmed. But I think regarding the story of Tosin, yes, there's some sort of distraction at some point, but I think he could have managed this time, to an extent. So from what I know about the time quadrant, there are certain tasks that might come in as urgent, but they are not really important. And there are certain tasks that might be urgent and important. So trying to understand timelines. I know sometimes we get carried away by the task, but we don't ask about the timelines and what is involved. Sometimes you get on into a task and realize that it could have been done next week, but because the person who is giving you task is also saying it's urgent, you're not asking for what's the timeline to deliver this, how can I deliver it to make you feel better, and then all of us are not clashing heads on delivering so many responsibilities at the same time. So I think that at some point, if circumstances beyond our control come up, we could reprioritize certain things that we must have outlined at the beginning of the week, because we do not have control of certain things that may happen over the week. We only can control what we know of. So if there are certain things that come up, like the design lab issue, he could have just maybe re-strategized, and then also pay attention to the little things that could cause distractions, like the social media. It could be maybe taking a 10 minutes break and coming back. But if you find that thing is also distracting, you can now put it away for a while and focus on the things that are important. So here's just me saying from my knowledge. Thanks.
Thank you, Freda. And Freda just gave us a very solid masterclass. She just mentioned the time quadrant, which I was going to show us as well. Thanks for that. And I can see Ayomiko from finance. I think finance has something to say about Tosin as well, because I know maybe I'm also personally guilty when it comes to distracting the finance team and also not planning well before I reach out to them. So Ayomiko, Ayomiko Tosin, do you want to, so I can say Ayomiko Tosin Titiloye, can you speak to Tosin as it relates to finance team and your reality with Tosin's story?
Okay, so thank you. Like, as we're just when you just started and started going through this slide, I'm like, this is finance. Like, we literally relate to everybody in every stakeholder, both internal and external stakeholders of CCL. And sometimes it's crazy. There are deadlines. Everybody's like pulling your legs at the same time. And with finance is different because this is money, and money is something that everybody's touchy about. And you can't afford to make mistakes with figures, and you want to put out the right reports. So it's everybody's like pulling your legs at the same time. And we have times when payments are usually done at the end of every week. That sometimes even by the time somebody's collating the files, another person is reviewing. It's just like a whole circle of events, non-stop events in finance. And you're like, oh my God, how do I even manage these things? And so I can relate with Tosin. Everybody in finance can actually relate with Tosin. Like, it's crazy here. But the thing is, when it comes to time management, I like the way you outlined it. Like, okay, at the beginning of the week, Tosin actually wrote out what he set out to do, at the beginning of the week. So I think Tosin kind of started well, but it's like the week was planning for Tosin before even Tosin even jammed the week. So yeah, like, and that's the way it is in finance. Everybody's planning for you before you even step into the office. People are waiting for you. So I think for us in the finance team, let me say for me personally, what works sometimes, because I tell you there are times I miss deadlines. I like guilty as hell, but what works sometimes is, okay, early in the morning, first thing I do is at least go through mails and see who needs me, see what I missed from the previous day, or see what tasks are ahead of me. Bearing in mind that, of course, before I come to work every day or at the beginning of every week, I have tasks that I've set out to do for that week. So, and I put out a deadline, like a timeline for it. Anytime after 11, 12, I'm not attending to any serious calls, externally, because I'm a daytime person. I don't like working in the night. So I try as much as possible to maximize my daytime. So I think besides time management, I think we should also looking into your own personality as a person will actually help you in managing your time better. Because people that are nighttime, if you like, send them a mail at 2 a.m. They are there to answer you. But there are some of us that by 10 p.m. we're snoozing, unless it's really, 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 really urgent. Like, so I think understanding your personality too, kind of takes will kind of help too, in this case. So, but relating with Tosin,
Yeah.
I am Tosin. Tosin is me. Tosin is us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And one thing that is very profound that you mentioned is around the fact that before you plan your own day, there are other people planning for you. And that tells you that as a professional, you must plan your own time. And it's for all of us. Before you come to the office, whether you're in comms, you're in IT, you're in design, you're in research, everybody's planning for you, and you must plan your own time. And I love some of the examples you gave around how you plan your own time and also how you maximize your own day, which is very, very important. I had a friend who used to tell me that your urgent is not my urgent, even though it doesn't play out in all situations. But yeah, thanks for sharing. So what I'm hearing from all the people who have commented about toasting is that we need structure. Because other people are already planning for you. Your time is, you're supposed to work actively for 8 hours a day. But if you are not careful, you are not going to do anything tangible without 8 hours. And as an organization, we usually tell every team to innovate internally, bring on new things at all time. But if you are not careful, the things you plan to do in terms of internal innovation, you will not touch them because there are so many things going on. There are different things to respond to, and there are 20 emails with the title urgent waiting for you in your email by the time you are resuming work by 9 a.m. And if you are not careful, sometimes you even spend more than 20 minutes thinking about the response you are going to give to a 2-line email, if you know what I mean. So even thinking about responses to some emails is a lot of work in itself. And as an organization, we do a lot of mental work. We are an intellectually run organization. So you use your brain, you use everything within you to be able to provide solutions, and it can be very tiring. And if you don't plan yourself well, you're not going to do any serious work.